This is the 8th or maybe the ninth video in the series, depending on how you look at it. And in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about creating some interesting types of macros. And one of them is a macro where you can create a macro that will find a particular record. You can create a macro to print records or reports, and you can also create a macro to email people. So you can create it, and also after that I'll show you when you want to find a record and you want to find it by creating like a search box, so you can type a name or something and it will do a search for it. So I have this sample which I've been using for a while, and I'll try to put a link in the description below so you can download it, and it will be in a zip format, and also there might be a file associated with it in which I'll have some instructions. So to do this, the first thing I want to show you is how you can create a find button so that it will find for something, and to do that we'll try to create a macro. So I'll go to the create tab, and then I'll go to macro, and then from here I'm going to start creating it. Now whatever I'm showing here applies to 2007, 2010 and 13, so I'm trying to do it in all together. So I click here, and the first thing I want to do is I want to open the form, because if my form is not open, then I need to first of all open the form, and then I need to choose which form. So in this case I've got this form employee list, so I can choose that. And you can choose to view it as a form, or you can even view it as like a data sheet if you need it. And then there are some other things you can set, like conditions and stuff, which we don't need to do at this point. So after I open the form, I needed to go to control. So I choose the option that will say go to control. What does this mean? Because in my form I've got different fields: first name, last name. So which field do you want to go to? So I'm just going to put first name. Now how do you know what is the name of the control? So I'm just going to double click on my form here, and I'll go to the design view or the layout view, either way, and then right click here and go to properties of that field, the first name, and you will see when you go to other, that's the name. So in this case it's first name, which is usually coming from the field name you've typed in the table. So this is a way to make sure that you've got it right. If I can close this. So that's what I put in there. Now once I do this, now I need to run something that's called find record, and then I can choose find what. So I can say let's find first name Rob. Okay, and then you can choose whether you want to match the whole field, and there are different criteria here. Do you want to match the case or not? If I want, I can choose yes. If I want it to be capital R only, searching up or down, and then some other options you can look at. Now I'll show you in afterwards how you can deal with this, that you don't want to look for Rob, you want to look for something else. So we'll talk about that later. And now I can hit the save button in the right hand side corner, or when you try to hit the X it will ask you to do that. So I'll hit save, and then I'll just give it a name. This one will be find Rob. Always meaningful wordings will be very useful. I'll click now, close this, and there is my macro, which I can go to right click, I can rename, or I can design view to design it. Okay. And you can even run it. So let's see if I run it, what happens. So you see right away it brought me to Rob. Now what I want to do is I want to put this as a button on my form. So you could put it on any form, but for practice I'm just going to go to the create tab and go to form design. And in the design I'm going to use this the button here. So I click it and I'll drag it here. Now you can go through the, I think the application, or no, sorry, miscellaneous, run macro, next, choose the macro. There will be more than one listed if you had more. Next, and then you can give it a name, find Rob or whatever you want to call it. Or even if when this window comes up you cancel it and you go to right click and go to properties, and then in the event you choose on click, you choose the macro find Rob. And now if you want, you can go to format, and in the caption you can change it to say press to find Rob, and I can close it. Now to test this, I come to the form view. Now let's see, if I press it, it opens the form and finds me Rob. So that's one thing. And I'll come to the layout view, or maybe the design view of the form again. Now what I want to do is I'll just keep this open, and if I want, I can just save it. I'll hit the save button and I'll just call it form buttons or something like that, just for practice. So now I'll have it there. Now the next one I want to do is, say I wanted to create a button to print something. So I go to back to create macro. Now what I would do is I'll choose, like, first of all, what is it that you want to print. So first we need to decide what is it that you would like to open. So I'll say let's open a report. So I have this report called employee full list, so I'll choose the report name employee full list because that's the only one I have saved at this time. And you can filter by different things, and you can put condition, and just to remind you that you can have like if conditions and things like that. So you can start thinking in a creative way that you can actually put different conditions in there, saying that if a certain condition is matched, then only print it or something. Now once I have the report open, now I need to choose a print option. So I'll go in the alphabetical and I'll say print object. You can also go to the print preview option there. And after that, I just want to say that once this is done, close the window so I don't have that part open. Okay, so you can choose. Now here, when you point to these things, they'll always give you an explanation, so you don't have to like memorize it. It says that if you leave it empty, it will just close the one that's opened by default, or you can choose if it wasn't there. And then you can prompt where it is, okay, so would you like to save this if there was something going on, or do you like to be prompted if some changes were being made? Now I'll click save, and I'll just call it print full employee list, just to be very clear about it. I click OK. Now I can close this macro. Now what I'll do is I'll click in the design up here on the top, the form design, because I still have it open, and I'll choose the command, the button again, and I'll drag it here. And again, if I want, I can just hit escape, or I'll go to miscellaneous, run macro, click next. I'll choose print email, click next, and I can even give it a name here. So I can just call it print full employee list, and I'll click next, and I'll click finish. So let's see, if I come to the front end, the form view, now if I click on this, it's asking me how would you like to print it. I don't have a printer set up here, but you could choose one of your printers, and then you can click OK, and you can also choose the copies. And now you see, as soon as I hit cancel, that window closed because we had set the command there to do that. Alright, so now the third one we'll look at is the email part. So I'll go to create. First we'll create the macro, and then I'll add the button here, and I'll go to macros. And what is it that I want to do is I want to email something. So I'll click here and I'll choose email database object, and now it will ask me, so which object is it? So I'll say let's send the report, and you see you can even send the table or a query. So I'll send the report, and then what is the name of the report, because you could have multiple ones. So I'll click report full employee list. Now output format, which is how would you like the file to be attached. So I can say let's attach it as a PDF. You can choose any of those formats. Now here you can put the person's email address, whoever it is that you want to send it to, or you could just leave it blank and then you can fill it up later. So I'll just put something there for now, and you can put something in the CC, which is a carbon copy of this email, and the BCC, which is the blank. So whatever email addresses are there, nobody will know who the other people are in this part of this list. I believe with Outlook, in the TO section, if you had created in the contacts like a group, and you had called like say report list, and you had added some email addresses to that, you could put that in the TO section. In the subject, I can just put whatever it is, and I can even type the message. And do you want to be editing the message? You want people to allow to edit the message? You can say no if you did not want people to change the messages. Now I can click save, and I'll just call it email full employee report, and I'll click OK, and I'll close it. Now from the home of this form, I'll come back to the design view, and I'll click in the button, and I'll drag it. Now again, I could just hit cancel if I wanted. Right click, go to properties, and then in the event on click drop down button, I'm going to choose email full employee report. I can go to format, and then in the caption I can just type the word email full report, and I can close this. Now let's see if I come to the front end form view, and I'm going to click on this email full employee report. Now if you have Outlook or maybe Thunderbird, I suppose that should work through if that is set up, or any other email program. Like you cannot use this with like Yahoo or Gmail or Hotmail. You have to have some kind of an email client installed in your computer. So you see that attachment is added here, and there's my message, and I can type whatever I want and then hit send. So this is the way you can set up all of your email buttons in there. And as I said, if you leave the TO empty, it will prompt you and you will have to put something there. And you can always right click on these and go to design view, and then you can add more things in here if you needed to. You can add whatever else you wanted to do. You can cancel a line out. Let me show you the other one where I have more than one. So you can delete one. You can even move things up or down. So I can move this line down if it needed to be down. So you can make all those changes. So I'll just close all these. Okay. So this was looking at how to create these type of buttons. I think I had talked about one type of button in the previous video, but this email was something new. And now I want to talk about is the problem where you wanted a search box in which somebody would type something, and then you want to hit the search button, and then the search button will find you those records that you needed. So I'm just going to close this, say yes to saving it. So for that, you need to have some kind of a form already created. So in this case, there is this form here, and what I want to do is maybe on top of here I want to add like a search box, and in the search box you're going to put something in it, and then you're going to hit the search button, and that will go and find you something. So that's the idea in here. So I have the form open, and we'll go to, from the home, I'll come to either the layout view or the design view. In 2007, this you won't be able to do it in the layout view. Like if I come here, like I believe these buttons are not there in 2007. In 2010 and 13 they are there, but it doesn't matter. We can come to design view, and I can just right click and highlight the whole thing, and then I can drag it down to make some room here on the top. And now I'll take this text box button, click it one time, and I'll drag it here. Okay. Now I'll right click on this box here, and I'll go to properties, and in the other I need to give this guy a name. Now this name is important because this is the control name, because that's the way when I create the button, the macro will be looking what's typed in there. So I can type in here search box, or maybe search text. Now make sure that you are typing it properly, capital letters and everything, no spaces. I prefer not to. And then I can even click here and on this label, and I can go to the format, and in the caption I can type enter first name. So in this case I'm trying to find somebody by their first name, for example. Now I can close this. So that's set up, done. Now I want to create the macro because this part is done. So let's go to create, and I'll go to macro, and I need to create the macro. Now in this case, the macro that I'll be creating, it's going on this form which is already open. So I don't need to open the form. If it was not, if this button was going to be sitting on its own, then I will say that let's open this particular form, and once you've opened it, now search for a record. But in this case, I can just go straight for the command, the macro command, that would be search for record. So right away I can do that. And now I can choose the object type is a form, and the object name is the form employee list. And this is where we need to do something where it says where condition. So you can even go into the expressions and you can look at the builder. But I've just copied something here, and this is something that we need to paste it in there. So I'm just going to paste it, and then I'm going to explain to you what it is. So I'm just going to paste it here. So the first is first name, which is the name of the control. So that is when I'm going to come back to this employee list, this first name, when I go to the properties, and in the other, there's that name, the control name, which we've talked about earlier. So that is what is that first name equal, and I've got some, like, you can just look at it and just, you don't need to memorize it. It's trying to join it together, and this is the way it works. And then the forms, and then in here I've got the name of the form employee list, and it has to match exactly. And then the search box. Now in this case I didn't use the word search box, I used the word search text. Now you have to be careful, because if you type the wrong thing, it will be a problem. And in 2010 and 13 it gives you the tooltip, so which is good. In 2007 it does not give you that option. Okay. So this is set up with the name of the form and the text, the box for it, and also which field it needs to look in, the name of the field. Now I can hit save, and I'll give this search first name. I'll click OK. So that's added, and I can close this window. Now I need to add a button here that when I hit it, it's going to search whatever is typed in this box. So in the design, I'm going to click on the button, and then I can drag it. Now again, I can just hit escape or cancel, and then I can right click on it, go to properties. In the event, on click, I'm going to choose that button, search first name, and in the format, in the caption, I'll just call it search, and I can close this. Now let's see if this works. I can just click here and expand this a little bit, and I'll come to the form view, and here let's see if I type the word Rob, and I'm going to hit the search button, and let's see, right there, found me Rob. So that's good. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. I would highly recommend that if you wanted to look into the help section here, check out all the macros and what they do, do a search for it so that you are familiar with all the things that can be created and all the expressions that can be do. There are data macros, and there's a lot of different things you can look into and just have an idea, because a lot of these macros could solve your problem. And if it's not there, then you'll have to start looking into Visual Basic and writing your own commands to do things. So I hope you found this video useful. I just wanted to do one last thing, make sure this is working. Type the word Paul, and I hit search, and it finds it. Thank you for watching.